Catherine Rogan. My son is learning bass. He wants to know where Chris got his bass with the lights on the fretboard from the Olympics from. It's a guy called Rob Green from Status. He's got his own little company. It's a little, it's just a very, very small company, but he gave me a load of basses about a year or so ago to try out, and I really liked them. And he asked me if I wanted to make a signature model, so I put some blue lights in it. Yeah, I think I've had that one for about a year, but obviously because we've not been touring, no one's seen it yet, so I'm sure it'll feature a lot on the next tour. Well, I managed to find some strings as well that were Union Jack coloured. You can buy these special strings that have a coloured coating on them, and we managed to find a red, blue and white one, so yeah, I had a Union Jack of strings going on. Krista, please ask Chris whether the band is coming to the countries they've missed this tour. Could it be next year? I think at the moment all we've really announced is the European tour up until Christmas. But generally with each album for us it's usually at least 2 years of touring. So all I can say is don't panic if we haven't named your country as a place to tour yet, because I'm sure we'll pretty much get everywhere. You know, it's just it's a case of having we've got I think an 8-week window before Christmas to do obviously as many shows as we can. What we usually do is do the European tour, we do the States, and then I think next summer we're going to come back to Europe and hopefully do some stadiums. And then after that kind of gives us a 6-month or year period to kind of go back to any places that we haven't played yet, you know. So we always try our hardest to get to as many places as we can. Well, that's the thing. Like I said, it's going to be 2 years, and it's going to be it's going to be pretty extensive. Sometimes it's just down to logistics. It's hard, you know, when you generally will put together a list of what we want to do, and usually that is actually dictated by whether the venues are available or not, you know. And obviously you have to think about your routing as well, how far it takes to get from one gig to the other. You know, you have to. It's not so much for us. Obviously, you can fly anywhere within Europe, but obviously the equipment has to travel. You know, and unfortunately there are some places that we love playing, but it's very, very hard to actually, you know, make it a part of a tour because sometimes you just simply can't get the trucks with all the equipment there, you know. And I think we're the kind of band we don't like to do half-assed shows. You know, sometimes you can go to these places that are a bit more awkward to get to, and maybe take a lesser production, but then you feel like, you know, the fans aren't really seeing the whole show, you know. So we like to try and put it in later on when it's feasible to go and do it, you know. At Nudibronk, does Matt really have a basement full of canned foods ready for the apocalypse? He did in Italy. I think when we were making the last album, we were just sat in the lounge, just talking about the end of the world, as you do. And I think he just went off on one about he wanted us all to go to the supermarket and buy 500 quid's worth of tinned food. I thought it was all a bit of a joke until I realised he actually went and did it. I wasn't involved in that. My thing has always been, if you can have 500 quid's worth of tinned food, but it will run out. I'd rather go with everybody else. Paul Berry at pberry92. How does Chris and Matt maintain their vocals? Did you guys ever have singing lessons? I've never really done much myself because I've never really sang lead vocals, but obviously on this next album I will be. There's 2 songs that I'm singing, but I think it's all pretty obvious, really. I mean, things like smoking don't help. I used to smoke a lot, and there was at least 2 or 3 times during a tour where I'd lose my voice, you know, and it was purely because of smoking. Particularly if I smoked and went to a football match, the combination of screaming at football players and smoking doesn't help your voice. I don't know about Matt. I think Matt's maybe had advice from a few people about, you know, just what not to do, and I think the general vibe is don't eat spicy foods, don't drink acidic drinks, alcohol's not great, smoking's not great. Just all the usual be healthy stuff, you know. And I think if you can stay healthy, your voice generally stays in good shape. But I think also you need to not overdo it as well, you know. If you sing too much, I think sometimes when we've been in the studio, you know, you spend 2 or 3 days singing, you know, doing different takes and trying different ideas, you sometimes find at the end of the day that your voice is completely dried up. So stay hydrated and don't smoke. Over. I do get dizzy, and I have fallen over on numerous occasions, I think. I got dizzy the other night, actually, at the Olympics. I think usually once you've started touring and you're kind of in the swing of it, your body loosens up a little bit. It always happens. The first gig or the first performance in a long time, it's always a strange one because you're really excited to get back, to get back on stage. And what usually happens is you just go mental because you're really excited. You haven't played for a year, and then you wake up the next morning with what we call rock neck, where you can't move your head because you've just gone for it. It's like anything, is it? It's like when you play a sport that you haven't done for a long time, you ache the next day. But usually, as you get into the swing of it and you get your touring fitness back up to scratch, it's usually okay. But yeah, I mean, I had a few issues for a while. I had to see a physiotherapist for a bit because I was unaware of the fact that the combination of headbanging and guitar strap had actually dislocated one of my ribs on my back, and I didn't find out until I had a massage one day, and it was a chiropractor in Belgium. She said, "Oh, are you aware that you've got a dislocated rib?" And I was just like, "I've got no idea," and she just said, "Oh, it's all right. I'll just pop it back in now." And she just threw her entire body weight onto my back, and it was back in again. But I had to have a lot of knots kind of massaged out of my back and my neck from years of doing that. So I'm not as I don't do it as much as I probably did in the early days. But getting old. So you just forget, you forget, and you're just very into it, and it was quite an amazing first performance, to be, live on TV to God knows how many hundreds of millions, and obviously just to walk into a stadium like that, to have your first kind of public performance of a new song from a new album. The occasion just gets to you a little bit, and during those moments where you're on stage and the adrenaline's going, you don't feel any pain, and then the minute you stop, it's agony.